Thanks for coming on with us.
Yeah, hi, how are you?
It's great to have you coming to Syracuse, which, by the way, I don't know if you know anything about this new amphitheater. It's brand new, and it's beautiful.
Oh, well, good. No, I've never been there, so.
Well, I think you're one of the first lineup acts that is going to be coming in. Of course, Dave Mason along with Journey and the Doobie Brothers. What a show that's going to be.
It's been very good.
So, listen,
Cool.
I think you look great. You look better than me, and I don't want to compare ages, but you look better than me. So you've been doing this for 50 years. It is what a career.
Yeah, it's been a while. Been a while. Been a lot of stuff.
So, and you have what I notice about your career is that you've been, of course, one of the original founders of the band Traffic.
Yes.
But you'd start with something and then you'd move on to something else, but they were all great things, and you were in connection with so many other people and influence on so many others. In those early days of rock and roll, where you guys were just pioneers, it had to be incredible.
Well, I played and recorded with a lot of different people. Absolutely. So I've done that mostly. Obviously, it's been my own solo career for most of it, other than a couple of years there with Fleetwood Mac in '94.
Yeah.
But pretty much it's pretty much been mostly solo, other than earlier on when I, like I said, was lucky enough to be on a lot of different records, one form or another, Stones, Hendrix, and a lot of different artists recorded with me. So.
And you were recently inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. What kind of an honor was that?
Well, that was in 2004. Traffic was inducted into the Hall of Fame, and probably one of the better musical lineups, I think, of any of them.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that night was Prince, Bob Seger, Jackson Brown, ZZ Top, Traffic, and I forget who else. It was a early '60s band, vocal group. And
Dave, they just recently, was it Tom Petty that was that fired off against the Hall over the fact of so many great artists that are not in the Hall of Fame?
Oh. Yeah, well, we've all been doing that. So.
Right. I mean, it doesn't. When you see who's in, you're like, yes, they belong in. But then you look at the names that aren't in, and it's just baffling.
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
Andrew, go ahead with a question.
So one of the biggest questions I have for you mentioned Prince, and there's a lot of other artists that you've probably worked with. It's been a rough year for musicians when it comes to passing and losing legends.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I guess it's unfortunate, but especially Prince was somewhat of a surprise, I think.
Yeah. And you played with did you do a song with Michael Jackson on an album you put out in the 80s?
He sang on one of my songs on a song called "Save Me" on an album called "Old Crest on the New Wave." Yeah.
And that's another. How did you? I mean, you seem to have been able to maintain your identity without going nuts. So many of these guys just seem to go off the deep end, and you've seen it from your early days. I mean, with Jimi Hendrix, you were very close with Jimi Hendrix.
I spent some good time with him. Recorded with him. A couple of things. Finished up on Electric Ladyland, singing on Crosstown Traffic, and of course playing the acoustic guitar part on his version of Watchtower.
Okay, so there is a big controversy out there, and I'm told that it's a falsity and it's not true. That they said you had to do you couldn't get through the opening part of the song, and you had to do it like 20 times. Somebody in London in the recording studio came out with that. You say that's not true.
Oh, what's his name? The engineer.
Yeah. Yeah, you said you couldn't. Dave Mason couldn't get through the opening part of the song.
Yeah, nice guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did a few takes on it, but then it's not unusual to do a number of takes on things.
Yeah.
To get it right. So whether it took 20 or 40 or 50 or 10 or 5, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm there.
Well, listen, and I think that people, creative people, have things in their mind like this is how it should be, and you seem to be that person. Someone who, which is why a lot of your career probably was as a solo artist. Was it hard playing with other bandmates, even with Traffic in the beginning? Was that tough, or is it?
No, I mean it was fine. It was just that I mean the Traffic thing was basically my. I mean, bottom line was what I was writing, the songs that I were writing. I guess just didn't fit for the other three.
Yeah.
So
you would come in and correct me.
Go on my own.
Correct me if I'm wrong. You would come in and they would all write together. Steve Winwood and they would all write together. But you'd come in and have the song done. You would have everything taken care of.
Well, I'd have the song written.
Yeah.
How it was played was left up to the rest of the band.
Right.
But I'd certainly have the song done. Yeah.
Do you find you write better alone by yourself?
Well, that's what I've done for the most of my career. I mean, I have some songs of, like Look at You, Look at Me, on Alone Together is actually Jim Capaldi's lyrics and my music. But for the most part, I mean, my biggest hit I didn't even write, so we just disagree.
Well, that was a monster hit. And it's considered a legendary song in the rock and roll world today.
Well, that's good.
It's good because the royalties come in then.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, like I said, that's not my song. I mean, the one that's been for me, of course, is Feeling All Right.
Yeah. Great song, Andrew.
So we talked a lot about your long career in rock and roll, and how have you seen it change? I mean, there are some obvious answers to that, but you personally, you working in the industry knee deep, what are the biggest changes you've seen over the years?
Well, my thing is that, it's just, unfortunately, is without being negative, I suppose, but just being reality, is that the problem is there's no national radio format anymore.
Right.
There's no DJs. Nobody knows you even got anything new out, and everybody's stealing everything. And that's, the Internet has basically killed intellectual property.
Well,
So I just do what I've been doing all my life, which is playing live, you know. And they haven't quite, that one's still...
It's kind of hard to duplicate that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I got to tell you, I started in radio in the early 1980s when you literally picked the song. You had color categories, and you would... So it was the red category, which was maybe the new category, and you'd go into a bin of songs, and you'd pick from there.
Right.
Today, there's a playlist, and it's automated. It comes out of a computer. Everything is picked for you. A DJ can't alter what's being played.
No, I know, but that's because, I had a conversation with some kids who were about 17, 18 that were at one of my concerts, and I was asking them about that, and they said, well, why would we want to listen to radio? The second half of the show is going to be just like the first half. There's no surprises.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Whereas in the heydays of radio, you'd have a DJ go, "Hey man, you got to, let me spit. You got to check out this new disc." I mean, and there was somebody there. There's a personality there.
Now it's somebody with money lining their pockets doing it.
So, it's gotten homogenized and processed and corporatized, and there you go. What are you going to do?
Listen, can I ask you? I just through all the years of working with people and working in the pioneer era of rock music. Give me an experience, something that sticks in your mind that was a moment that you look back on and say, wow, that's awesome.
The fact of who I've worked with, and working with Hendrix was an awesome experience, and lucky to be part of that. Having Michael Jackson come in and sing on that record for me was playing on Street Fighting Man. There's a number of them. There's a lot of them, and they were all pretty unique and awesome.
Yeah, to be a fly on the wall. And you were on the 12-string guitar when you recorded with Jimi Hendrix in London, right?
I play that's acoustic guitar on
Yep.
his version of Watchtower. Yeah.
And then you worked with, I mean, you just the list goes on. George Harrison and Paul McCartney and Stevie Wonder and Eric Clapton as well.
Yeah, I was in the early Derek and the Dominoes.
Yeah.
Early on, we did one show at the Hammersmith Odeon, and then yep, there's a bunch of them.
So now you are, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Dave Mason is now 70 years old.
Yes, he is.
Dave Mason is still rocking out.
Until I can't do it anymore.
That's incredible. I want to ask you, who do you, of all that you've played with and you've seen and music today, great guitarists, who's a modern day great guitarist out there? Somebody younger that's made his way up.
Well, there's a lot of them. Joe Bonamassa.
Joe Bonamassa from here. Joe grew up here. We know Joe well.
Is that where he's from? But yeah, Joe is awesome.
They say there's an old story, I think a Jeff Beck story, where he didn't want to go out on stage. Joe Bonamassa was playing out there, and they asked him, "Why don't you want to go out?" And he said, "I don't think I can keep up with this kid."
Well, I think Beck was. Jeff Beck is pretty awesome.
Pretty awesome, yeah.
Yeah, very innovative.
I'm sure he could keep up.
I'm sure he could keep up.
Listen, I could go on for hours and talk with you, but you'd get really bored. Dave Mason with Journey and the Doobie Brothers coming on this coming Wednesday, July 13th at the Onondaga Lakeview Amphitheater. And, of course, you'll play all so many different songs you've been involved with, and then, of course, that huge hit, We Just Disagree. And Dave, thanks so much for taking the time and chatting with us this morning.
You are quite welcome. Look forward to being there.
All right, there it is. Dave Mason. Got a break. Hold on. Coming right back at WIBX.